Hey, evening, everyone. Evening. Uh, nice little round of applause there. Thank you very much. Good to see you all. If you are here, obviously let me know in chat that I am not alone. Yeah, well, I hope everybody is good, and this is the last G-Star Vault before Christmas, because it's the big event in a few days' time. So I will hopefully be coming back to you again next Sunday. So I will get to speak to you again before the new year cracks in. But this will be the last live stream before Christmas. So I hope you're all ready for a big one and gonna have some big plans with your friends and families. Have we got any nice title? Ready Mysterious. Hiya, Sean. Thank you. Yeah, it's the first time you've seen the titles, is it? Let me know, because this is live podcast number 5, and I've been using the same intros since I kicked off. So let me know what you think of them. Although you've already said Ruddy Mysterious. So we are here to talk about drones, everything drones, all the crazy stuff that is going on in the US primarily, specifically around New Jersey. That's kind of where it all kicked off in New York, and now it's sort of extending into Virginia and some other states of the US as well. So it's been, well, I thought it was big news generally, certainly in the world of ufology is big news right now and on some social media platforms, but there's still people out there that are not hearing about this, and that may be you. Stealth Andy, Steve, good to see you. Evening, mate. Yep, evening to you. And Sean was commenting that he's never seen the titles before because he's usually late. But that's okay. It's good to hear. Oh, and I've just seen we've got the lovely Mickey's Aquariums in our chat this evening as well. So awesome evening to all you guys. Thank you so much for joining. So we're here to talk about the drones and all the stuff that's been going on in the US. And I've entitled this episode The Pursuit of Truth because I've got 10 theories to go through with you, possible explanations as to what it is that's going on, pulling from various sources all around. And so I've just put it together as 10 theories, not necessarily what I believe, but things that we can consider as potentials. So I'm going to go through the 10 theories tonight. And as I'm doing so, what I'd love from you guys and where you can participate, as well as letting me know your thoughts and what you're thinking. But I wanted, after we do each theory, I wanted you to give it a rating out of 10 as to how scary it would be if it was real. So you don't necessarily have to believe that it is real, but if it was, like, how scary would it be? 10 being the worst sort of scary situation for us to be in, and 1 or 0 obviously being the lowest. So I'll try and remind you and myself of that as we go through tonight's show and we go through those 10 theories. I have kind of rushed putting this together, to be honest with you. I was going to do it last week because I wanted to be right hot off the press, because all of this stuff with drones has only been happening in the last sort of 30-day window. But as some of you may or may not know, last weekend I got myself a camper van, which is something that I've been wanting to do for quite a while now, and especially for my other channel and the content that I do there, the Underground Paradox, where I go out on location investigating, and having the camper van as a little base of operations, and to go out and do more nighttime investigations as well. That's going to be definitely a handy tool to have. So I'm looking forward for that for 2025. But because I was picking that up last weekend, I had to reschedule this live stream for this evening. But I'm still kind of mashed it together quite quickly because there's just so much out there as well. So what else have we got in chat? Evening to I already said evening to Kevin, but he's saying evening to everyone else. Looking for a missing nuke to aliens, all very strange. Yes, we're going to sort of cover those spectrum of theories, Kevin, going all the way from looking for a missing nuke to potentially aliens, from all of the possibilities. That's what we're going to go through tonight. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you've had a good weekend so far. If you are here, please don't forget to give this stream a like, and if you could so dare, it always is good to share, and sharing is caring. So either after the show or right in the middle of the show, please share it with somebody and say, hey, you want to come on and listen to all this theories about drones, etc. Okay, so and I just wanted to mention as well that I am still hoping to get guests on this live stream coming up, and I was meant to have guests a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, because the stuff happened, they've had to reschedule. So hopefully in the new year we're going to have some good guest activity on this show. But right now, I'm just so glad that you guys are here to talk this through with me, give me your thoughts and opinions as well as to what's going on with the drones. So on that note, this evening, I'm not going to be going through like too many videos or pictures and stuff like that. More talking, as I said, about the different theories. But some of you may be up to speed with what's going on and looking at some of the news that's been coming out of the US, or following stuff on various social media platforms. I don't know. Or you may not have, and this may be brand new news to you. So I thought I'd put together a quick video. It's only about 3 minutes long, just to kind of do a summary and just a scope of all the different stuff that's going on around these drones in the US and specifically New Jersey. So check this video out. It's just about 3 minutes long, and then I will be back with you.
Back here to the Hill on News Nation. The nationwide sightings of mysterious drones continue to baffle folks all over the country. And the Federal Aviation Administration is now stepping up, with the agency implementing a drone ban in parts of New York City and Long Island. It comes just hours after a similar ban in New Jersey.
This one is extremely low. It's loud.
It's really cute.
And it's huge.
It's so big. It looks so much closer in person.
Yeah, my camera doesn't do it. Looks like a spaceship, right? Like that doesn't look like a drone, right? That looks like a spaceship. It's like a small plane. It really is like a small plane. These are all drones in the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 right here.
I do want to get to an update here, a development in the ongoing mysterious drone saga in New Jersey. The Federal Aviation Administration now issuing temporary flying restrictions in several cities across New Jersey due to, quote, special security reasons. We brought that to you as breaking news a bit earlier on this morning.
Comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey reports. It seems like there people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from, know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should.
Standard security language included in national security NOTAMs and temporary flight restrictions. As you've heard us say, we're going to work closely with the FBI, DHS, FAA to make sure that we're harmonizing our on-base efforts with anything that they're doing off-base. Our forces, our commanders, if they observe UAS activity that they believe represents a threat, they have the authority to conduct mitigation operations based on the capability at their location.
There you go. Hope you enjoyed that video. Yeah, just kind of thought I'd put that together as just a summary of what's going on. We had throughout that video quite a few comments from you guys. Unfortunately, no, I'm not going to show that one. I've got another video to share later, but not necessarily of some of the activity. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. But obviously, there's one out there that Andy's saying about where an F-16 is trying its luck against one of these drones. And then Kevin said you would be a bit scared, though, with all this going on, the government not saying. Yeah, I mean, look, the reason why I've decided to cover this, and you know I'm not the first and the only one, but and the reason why I thought I'd go through the 10 theories is because, you know, whatever you believe, you cannot deny that something is happening. I mean, I tried to show it there in that video, but you know, first of all, it was kind of like the FBI getting involved with this and putting restrictions to public use of drones so that they could sort of discount that or monitor what was going on. They were doing sort of public meetings and then private meetings about it. Then, you know, the military's been getting involved. We've heard from the president-elect Trump, who's yet to, I mean, that was a whole very odd speech. You know, he's basically telling us that the government knows what it is, but they can't say what it is. And he just said they know and they can do all of this. And, you know, everything that's happened has brought around loads of things that are going on as well, where they've brought in all this specialist equipment to be able to pick up drones, military equipment. So, you know, whatever you think or feel, you know, about this, that there's definitely something happening. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take a bit of an explore through the different theories. And this is where I've kind of just pulled this together in the best way that I possibly could, thinking of all different scenarios. So after each one, as I said earlier, just want you guys to put in the comments there 1 out of 10 in terms of how scary you think it would be if that particular theory was a part of what's going on and was real. Even if you don't think it is, like if it was, how scary would it be? That sort of thing. Right. So the first one that we've got, theory number 10, working backwards. And these are in no, obviously, order of what I think is genuine or not. But the first one is planned event. Is this a planned event? Now, you can look at this in two ways in terms of planned event. You can look at it from a military point of view, or you can look at it at a public domain kind of point of view. And I'm going to come back to the military later and not talk about it so much now, because that kind of comes up in some of the other theories. But what we're going to talk about in terms of a public planned event. So what I'm talking about here is similar to kind of what we saw in the UK in the late 80s, early 90s, with all the emergence of crop circles, and obviously people working together in a large group that is kind of secretive and trying to do something to shock or, you know, like I said, using the example of the crop circles in the late 80s and early 90s in the UK, and other things that, there's those not hieroglyphs, what are they called? Monoliths, that's it. Monoliths that have appeared in various places around the world. Same sort of monolith, but it's a sort of art installation, if you like. But it's sort of people working together. And, are these drones and all this activity that's going on in the US, is it some sort of, dark web public group of people that have planned for this to kind of happen, to create some sensation? Could that be what is going on here? And we're going to find out that there's, a sort of group of people that lay claim to this later down the line. And this was all them. And I forgot to say at the top of the show, actually, one of the things that's brought my attention specifically to this whole subject and this interesting events that are unfolding in the US is the fact that straight away we've got to sort of consider this right at the top. Why is it from day one that the dialogue, the narrative that is using is drone? When, in other areas where we've seen footage or photographs or stuff like this, people refer to them as UFOs, UAPs, but straight away the dialogue is really heavily drones. Think about that one. That's the one that brings my interest to this, and why I'm kind of just like, I've got to find out more about what's going on here and delve a little bit deeper and investigate, I suppose. So that was theory number 10. Is this a planned event? And as I said, I'll talk about military planned events a little bit more. But if it was a sort of public or a military event, give us a score out of 10, 10 being the scariest. How scary do you think that would be if all of this is something that is being done by a group of people that have been able to get together, organize it, bring it to life without really anybody getting a sniff of who's behind it and where it's coming from? Give me a score in comments, 1 out of 10 for that one, whilst I go on to theory number 9 and start talking about that. And that is it a fallen military? And this is where possibly I might have another piece of video footage to show you, which we can look at again later if some people want to. But yeah, is it China? Is China doing this, or Russia, or some other, government that is behind this, that have, fooled the US government, US military, and they are none the wiser, or they do know it is a fallen military, but they can't do anything about it. But yet they're bringing in all of this advanced drone detection equipment and putting it in place in scattered areas across the US where all this activity has been going on. As I said earlier, primarily New Jersey, the state of New York, and now edging into Virginia. Let's just talk about some comments that we've got here. What's Kevin said there? Gee, do you think the drone sightings over RAF US Air Base over here have got anything to do with what is happening in the US? Possibly, Kevin, possibly. But again, I sort of hark back to that sort of thing that, with everything that's been going on in New Jersey, there's this whole thing as well with some Coast Guards that reported at sometimes there was 7 drones and up to 30 drones that were following them. They're out to sea, obviously. And again, it's just interesting, just holding on to that point of view, that why all of a sudden are we calling these things drones? Why is that? Have they got some strong evidence yet to say that they're definitely drones? Again, we're going to talk about a lot more stuff this evening, but I just don't get it, why all of a sudden it's drones. There's lots of stuff that we go through tonight where people are talking about the fact that they don't maneuver like drones. So that's why it's definitely being confirmed. There's some stuff we'll talk about later with these experts or these drone experts that have analyzed a lot of the different footage that has been passed in or reported, and they've come to the conclusion that it couldn't be sort of private sector commercial drones that you or I could purchase or own. A couple of reasons being is the maneuverability, and in a lot of reports they're meant to be the size of like small cars or vans. So in that situation, and this is why, again, going back to the first theory that we were talking about, planned event, it would be a hell of a doing by somebody, because all of these drones are about the size of cars. So getting them all around and getting them up would be some sort of operation, and would just deserve some respect straight away for the fact that they were just able to do that. A bit like the guys who did the crop circles, really, to be honest, because it's not exactly easy, but they did a great job. So in comments, we've got some to the first theory, just how scary it would be if it was a planned event, either by a public underground group or military. And then Kevin's given it a 6. So I presume that, yeah, that's definitely for the first one, because I haven't finished talking about the foreign military one yet. But on that note, so I was talking about how it could be China. And what's really interesting, don't know if you guys know about this, but it was only, I think, about a month ago, or possibly a couple of months ago, that China broke the world record. This guy out in China, sorry, I forget his name, but he broke the Guinness Book of Records with this drone display using over 10,000 drones. And this guy in China. So it's like really strange, or is it coincidence that, there's this big whole thing? I've got a video that I've taken of this show just to give you some highlights. And hopefully you'll enjoy this video, because I was like, wow, what they can do now. It's just insane. Check this out, guys. Let me know what you think. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I mean, isn't it insane? We've already got a comment there in the live chat from Andy saying it's crazy what they can do with drones now, especially for war. I mean, yeah, that is a public sector commercial drone performance out there for everybody to see. And that, apparently, that's 10,000 drones, and it's all controlled. The whole thing is done through one computer. So you think if they can do that in the public sector, the commercial sector, then what could be done? Where is the technology? What level is it at for military, and what they can do? But again, when you look at a lot of this footage and a lot of the photos and some of the material that I was showing you from various sources there in that opening video, one of them was from TikTok with this girl who's going, oh, and these craft, whatever they are, they're not moving particularly fast or crazy maneuvers, and they've got flashing lights on them like you would expect from drones or from commercial aircraft. And a lot of the reports have obviously been looked into, and some of them are definitely public commercial airlines and aircraft, like helicopters and things like that. But a lot of them, and some of the ones that I pulled off for that video at the start, they definitely, and they came from different sources, by the way, because it sounds a lot like it's the same woman talking, but it's completely different reports and completely different videos. And that one where they were filling the sky, that's definitely been, well, they know it's not commercial aircraft. So could it be a foreign military? Could this be China, or could it be Russia, or could it be somebody like that is, in President Trump's speech, he said that the US government know where they're taking off from. They know where they're going back to. I think he referred to it as a garage, might as well say warehouse. They know which warehouse it's taken off from. But so they know where they're coming from. They just obviously can't seem to do anything to stop them. But here's the interesting thing. I think Andy mentioned in comments earlier that there was one, there's obviously a video or some photography out there of an F-16 trying to chase one of these down. But it's crazy how little, again, this feeds into some of the theories that we're going to be talking about, but it's crazy how little military reaction there is to this, as in the air, trying to shoot these things down or trying to, surround them, etc. There's very little that I've seen. But we're going to talk about that again in a little bit. So that was theory number 9. So if it's a foreign military that's up to this and they've just perplexed the US military and they don't know how to stop and control, and if it was another military doing this to the US, how scary is that out of 10, guys? Let me know in comments. I'm pretty high on that one, because if it is, then we're kind of on the precipice of probably a global warfare, so that would be pretty scary. But let me know what you would grade it out of 10 being the most scary. We've already got some scores coming in. We've got Andy with 5. If it is a foreign military and they've kind of got it over the top of the US military and they just don't know how to stop them and prevent it, I think that's pretty gosh darn scary. So get those scores in whilst I move on to theory number 8, and that is, could it be something going on in the private sector, like an invention, an experiment? Now, think about Musk and SpaceX and all this kind of stuff. Even though a lot of or some of their funding comes from military, there could be people out there. I've always kind of had this, like, I guess it's a little bit of a fantasy that there's somebody out there that's a little bit like what's his name, Iron Man. Somebody let me know in chat what's the character's. I know the actor's name, but I can't think of the character. Iron Man. Yeah, so it's shot out of my head at the moment, but somebody let me know in chat. Put me out of my misery. We've got some more scores coming in, by the way, as well. So we've got a 6 from Kevin, and we've got a 6 from Nikki as well. Tony Stark, thank you so much, Sean. Big help. Just it's awful when you're live. This is why one of the things that I did used to like about pre-recorded, at least you could just take another take when you couldn't remember somebody's name. But you can't do that when you're live, and when you're not got somebody else in the studio with you at the same time helping guide you through. But I've got you guys again. Thank you. So thank you for that, Sean. Just put that up on screen. So thank you. Tony Stark. So I've always had this sort of fantasy that maybe there's a Tony Stark out there somewhere, or somebody similar who's doing things, and the military definitely are in the picture, and just out there just proving that they can get around military and just have a bit of fun with it, or it genuinely is something to be scared of. But could it be somebody in the private sector that has just got the military mystified and confused? We had some good scores there from for the last one. So get your scores in if that was real. If it's somebody out there who's like an inventor or a businessman, a very influential businessman with a lot of money to put into R&D, research and development, and the military just don't know about it, how scary would that be? 1 out of 10 being the highest. Let's just have a look. We've got some more comments. And what's Andy said here? That's what I think it is. Them just running a program. Yeah. Do you think it's military that's running that program, or somebody from the private sector? Let me know, Andy. And then it says, did you see Trump's appointee for NASA director? He's a billionaire tech bro who has business with Musk involved involving payments. No, I didn't know about that. I certainly haven't seen that. So yeah, if you can find a link, because you are on this channel, you're a moderator, you can drop links in. So after we finish the live, if you've got a link that you can share for everybody to check that out, please do put it in comments, Sean. That'd be awesome. What we've got here from Kevin, also interesting fact, the Royal Navy just completed an exercise where they had to shoot down over 100 drones flying low level just over the waves. So they set up the drones to shoot them down. If you wouldn't mind just confirming that, because again, that's news to me, and thanks for sharing, Kevin. Mickey's given that last one, I think the private sector 3 wouldn't be careful. Oh, hello. Good evening, Courtney. Thanks for joining us. Oh, YouTube didn't notify you. Well, we're going to have to send a nasty word to YouTube. So to catch you up, Courtney, we're going through different theories. I think the next one we're on theory number 6 out of 10 theories that I've put together for possible explanations for all this activity that's going on over there in the US. And it appears, in other places around the world, or at least activity that could be potentially connected to it. We're going through all the theories, and then at the end of each theory, I'm just asking you guys to score it out of 10, 10 being the scariest. If it was real, whether you think it is or not, but if it was, how scary would it be? 10 being the scariest, 1 being the lowest. And for the private sector theory, which was theory number 8, we've got a 3 from Mickey. So he's not too scared about Tony Stark being out there doing his own thing. And we've got a 4 from Kevin, equally on the same wave level of thinking. Right, so let's get on to theory number 7. Desensitize. Kind of hails back to the last live stream I did where we were talking about the UAP hearings in Congress and in the Pentagon. We were talking there about things, and there's a lot of people out there, especially people who are more, look into philosophy a little bit more, and they definitely in the world of ufology feel that we're going to be drip fed disclosure, and maybe this is just another. I've talked about it as well when I did a G-Star Vault before I started doing lives. It was a pre-recorded one where it was called Bob Lazar versus the Pentagon. Don't know if you guys remember that one. Let me know in comments if you do. But I was talking there about this whole feeling that I've had through all the years of research and looking into the subject matter that I've been doing about this idea of desensitization and things being done just to kind of get us more used to some of this craziness. And what's interesting, you go back and watch that video that I shared at the beginning of the show, giving a bit of a summary of what's going on here. Maybe it was the music that I added to it, but it all seems kind of scary. And if this was going on here, right over our skies, where we call home, wherever you are watching from the world, you would kind of be like, well, I want to know a little bit more about this, or, at least an explanation of what's going on. And this is what's not happening in the US. Nobody's getting an explanation, or the government aren't coming forward and saying what it is. And this is craft that is flying over, people's homes. And it's quite low level as well. I didn't say that at the beginning of the show. Most of them are quite low level. So, sorry, Andy, could you just confirm, is that 8 for the private sector one, or is that for desensitized? Are you jumping ahead with your scoring? It doesn't matter if you are, but just good to know, because this is where we kind of get into some of the scary ones. If this is a whole thing just to desensitize us, it's all over social media, but yet at the same time, it doesn't seem to be over everybody's social media, and there's still people that I'm talking to day to day and going, oh, have you heard about all this? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? And nobody knows about it. So it's not like it's making headline press, although it is all over the news and news channels in the US. It certainly isn't like global news. We wouldn't be sitting down watching BBC News and it being the top story of the day. So yeah, is this just another part of that drip feeding disclosure, desensitizing us, just an exercise Again, it does feed in, and some of these theories cross paths because, again, this theory is a little bit like could fit in very well with planned event. And certainly a military one. I said I was going to talk about them a little bit later. Maybe this is a military planned event to desensitize the public and start getting everybody used to not going too crazy when all this stuff goes off, because it seems that some people are going crazy, but generally it's business as normal for the rest of the world right now. And even in the states of New York and New Jersey, it's a bit of a mixed bag. So yes, mate, if something happens, they will disappear. Yeah. And right. Okay, cool. So that's theory number 7, desensitized. So if you guys could just put your score in chat for that one, if that's the truth, if that's what's going on here, whether you think it is or isn't, but if it was and it got proven that that's what's going on here, how scary would that be out of 10? 10 being the scariest. Right. What I might do in the middle of these theories is I might just play that video again. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Sean. Yeah, and I'll try and copy that over into because I can't look at it right now, because if it's from another YouTube channel or something and I start playing it on a live, I might get a slapped wrist. So yeah. Oh, Courtney's not very scared by the desensitization. Good stuff. That's I like it. I love the fact that we're getting really strong, honest answers from you guys tonight. Cool. Keep those points coming in. Yeah, I'll try and copy that, because what I needed it is in the concert. I'd love to watch it after the show, but I can't watch that link. What Sean's sharing there, guys, was just about, I think, where Trump's advisor from NASA or something is talking about something. Can't remember. I'm sure it was in comments. Let's go back and see if I can find that comment from Sean. Oh yeah, it was Trump's appointee for NASA director. So the director guy, I presume he's not taken up the role yet, as Trump hasn't been sworn in yet. But he's a billionaire tech. And he's got business involvements with Musk, so or pays into Musk. He owns his own private space company. There you go. Lots of interesting stuff coming up from you guys tonight, so thank you for that. Right, I'm going to move on to, so the theory number 7 was desensitization. We got a 7 from Kevin, so a little bit more scared than Courtney on that one. Because, I guess the scary aspect of that is that there's this agenda that, people behind closed doors are working towards to give us the truth that they need to desensitize us to. And yeah, Sean's saying that he owns his own private space company. Yeah, he's just a nominee yet, hasn't taken up the position and he's a former jet fighter pilot. Interesting. What? Good evening to 504 Fireman. Wow, what happens is the drone flight ban working? If it is a problem solved, right? Yeah, I don't know if it's working or not, but it's interesting that, I mean, again, that's going to feed into some of the theories that we're going to go into 504. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to if it is a thing that is already being planned and they know, and it's them doing it, but they haven't been telling us, and it gets out. That's gonna cause a hoo-ha in itself, right? So let's move on to theory number 6, and this is called PSYOP. And I kind of got this theory a little bit from I put a link already in the description. So if you want to go and check it out after the show, please do. There's a guy who's got a channel called Chase Hughes, and he is a behavioral expert. He sort of does right across the globe to big corporations. He's like an expert advisor around behavioral stuff. He's a best-selling author as well, but he's got a YouTube channel as well. And he was talking about how this whole thing, or one of the ideas that he had, because there's a lot of other theory videos out there where they've got about 4 theories. I thought I'd go a little bit further down the rabbit hole and come at you with 10 theories. But one of them that he's talking about is this idea that what's going on is a psyop, and it does feed in a little bit to the theory 7 that I was just talking about, desensitization. But whether this event has been planned, and again feeds into that planned event by military to kind of distract the public from other things that are going on, or just take some of the pressure off, and he talks on his channel or on this show, and again I've put the link in the description. He talks about how it's if sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. What was he talking about? Oh yes, like if there's an economic crisis or something like that going on, and the governments want to deflect the public's attention, like we've got a cost of living crisis right now, want to distract the attention of the public and create these events that bring that attention elsewhere and are made to deflect you. That could just be one part of this psyop, this concept that Chase Hughes talks about on his channel. And the other thing that sort of feeds into what Chase is saying about this psyop theory is the fact that if you go and look up online about these drones and about incidences, and it's again another factor about it that draws my interest, if you just want to find the video footage that people apparently have shot and seen and uploaded, you can. All you can find is videos or links to reports where it shows news stations. So whether it be like Forbes news station, or there's one actually just called News Station, and all these American news channels, you can't actually just go and find just some photographs or the footage that was uploaded by the people that have made the original reports. And what's also really, really curious and feeds into this theory of psyop is that on all these different news stations, they're using the same footage and they're using it in the same way. And the narrative is almost similar on all of them. So this one sounds a little bit like moving into that arena of conspiracy theory. But it's interesting. And I think it was Joe Rogan did one thing where I can't remember what event it was to do with, but he showed that how all the news stations were reading out exactly the same script, all the news readers on different stations, and they put it together so it just read as like one long, but it's loads of different people. And the same is true, can be true and be said of what's going on here as well. And if you go out and look online to try and find information to pull down about these drones, that's what you find in a lot. Yeah, like Mickey's saying there in comments, plenty on TikTok. We've got loads of comments coming through, by the way. So 504, wow, what happened is this... Oh, no, I already did that one. Courtney, I get what you're saying, why you scored desensitization 1, that you'd be saying that you're scared of disclosure. Yeah, I guess so. I was more looking at the way that they're going about trying to handle that disclosure, and that's by still keeping us in the dark, and that's scary to me. 504, this is all we need to know, and I'm glad you're breaking down the different phrases. I could debunk them all, none of them make sense. Yeah, that's the thing, is that as I said at the top of the show, I'm not aligning to any one particular of these theories, but there are certainly things that are going on out there that can be, then used as, I guess, a part of a piece of evidence to say why somebody might think that. But it could all be interlinked and interlinked and interjoined, and could be many of these theories all together, or just one of them. Yeah. So that was theory number 6. Like, this is a psyop, and again, just go out and look at it. And I was trying to show it in that startup video about how a lot of the dialogue is all the same stories and all the same footage and all the same. It's a bit strange. So go and check that out. But let me know in comments, give this one a score. If it's a psyop that's either being done by governments, and by governments, I mean like, sort of a politician sort of thing to distract our attention from something else that's about to either happen or is happening, or if it's more sinister, where it's more of a military planned operation and they're doing it through news channels, again, sort of linking into that desensitization. And again, it just goes to show that a lot of these theories seem to be very, very interconnected, but definitely I feel safe to say that they're separate as well. Okay, so that was theory number 6. And then just before I move on to theory number 5, Courtney says that's because the inverted pyramid model for reporting is all from one source and all the networks purchase this news stories, hence why it's all the same network to network. Yeah, and this is why in this current day and age, the way that we're dependent upon technology is that it's easy for somebody to spread a story like this when actually it could just be a small scattering of things. We were talking earlier on how this has obviously created some sort of form of mass hysteria, because along with a lot of what appears genuine footage or reports, there's definitely ones that can be clearly explained to be commercial aircraft like helicopters and airplanes, and even in some cases like a more so military drone. But then there's other footage that just doesn't look that way at all, and then for me it would fall into the category of UAP. But that's not the narrative or the language that's being used. It's always drone, drone, drone. And so there's just so many different interesting facets around how this has come up, and the way in which it's come up, and the way that it sits there and exists in itself. Very complex. Right, let's go on to theory number 5. And that is, it's fake. It's been created. And that's kind of feeding into this sort of influence stories, because again, I'm struggling to find names or individuals who, these are people that are in New Jersey that have seen these things, filmed these things, uploaded them to the World Wide Web. And if I can't seem to find that, if you do searches, and usually I'm pretty good at searching, I'm not saying, I did say at the top of the show that I've kind of rushed to put this together, so I haven't sat there for days and days and days. But usually I'm good at knowing how to do my searches straight away and find the relevant information that I need to do, because I do a lot of investigating, and I can't seem to find a great deal. So I'm thinking, if it started off somewhere and then it's just merged, it's like if we had a lot of people on the show tonight watching from the US and that Pacific area of the US as well, just ask them, do you know somebody who's seen one of these? Have you seen one of these? And it's whether it's all just it's all just being created. I mean, there's definitely people that have jumped on the bandwagon. So right now, if you go out there and look online, not only can you find all the kind of stuff that looks like it's definite, recent, genuine footage that's been filmed, but obviously you've got a lot of AI created stuff that started jumping on the bandwagon of it now, and ones where they're calling it drones, and then it's kind of quite very obvious that it's CGI AI created. So again, that feeds into, again, just the hysteria that's going off about this in certain sectors, in certain places, and definitely shows that enough people know about it that other people are starting to jump on the bandwagon. We've got a comment there from Kevin. I just want to bring that one up. I've seen some of the supposed drones looking like plasma things. Strange. Yeah. I can't remember if you were with us right at the start, Kevin, but in the video that I was showing at the beginning, there was definitely some in there that looked strange. And there's, to squeeze all of these shows in sometimes, I do need to skim over something sometimes, or else I'll be here for days talking to you. But there is a lot of experts now that have gone public, like people that work within the industry of drones, both military and commercial public sector, people that are experts in aviation. I showed a picture earlier on with Avi Loeb, who's a professor, and he was talking on Sky News and giving his viewpoints on what this was, and you know, he was lending fact that he's very curious as to why they're labeling these things drone, because there's not any concrete evidence that's yet to be presented that tells us that they are drones, or drones that we know of currently. But there's definitely kind of experts that have started looking at a lot of stuff and going, they're not what, you know, your average Joe could go down and order offline or go down to a shop and buy. And you know, definitely some really strong evidence about the size of these things, and it being like the size of a car. And you know, we were talking about how like everybody's involved, from the Pentagon to the FBI. You know, this is definitely happening. So if it's definitely happening, what is it? And if you don't assign to one of these theories, you then have to present your own, because it's definitely happening. There is something going on. But could it have been fake and created? You know, and it's got this big, it's got this far, and it's fooled this many people. How scary would that be if it's all being created and you know, orchestrated and faked? Give me a score out of 10. How scary would that be? Before we move on to the next theory, just going to look at some of these comments. Kevin said, you can't trust the media nowadays, pushing propaganda. Yep, it's been proven. It's just not one of those conspiracy theories. There's evidence to show that they, you know, copy an agenda, they copy a narrative, and there's politics involved as well, depending on who they, and when I say politics involved, it's money as well. So I've seen some of these push. Oh, yep, I already brought that one up. Yes, well, there was supposed, and again, I was watching a YouTube channel of these guys that apparently were trying to get out to where this wreck was. They'd jumped in their van from Florida in the US up to New Jersey as quick as they possibly could, because there was a reporting of a shot down drone crashed or something. But again, I think they got there and said they couldn't get anywhere close to where it supposedly happened. And yeah, I haven't heard much more of that, and I don't know whether that is, again, just something that's, you know, jumped on the bandwagon of this. And that's how these things grow, right? And in the day and age now where people can just do all this stuff with AI and create content that then can misconstrue and fool people, it makes certain stories just go, you know, sideways, backwards, whatever. So it's difficult to know what to trust out there. Sean said, wonder how many drones are people chasing the sightings there for creating their own sightings. Yeah, well, again, I think this is why they've been trying. The FBI have started putting into law in certainly New Jersey and parts of New York, bans for people to use public drones. One, I don't know if it's permanent, whilst they're trying to control this situation, or, you know, and again, this could have been the agenda. This could have been, you know, we could have got to a point, and when I was showing the drone display on the video earlier and just how advanced that is now, we've got to the point that even in the public sector, drones can be so advanced and have such great capabilities that they could be a threat to military, let's face it, in certain secret exercises or programs or things that they've got going on, that they feel threatened, that they now can't police and control the skies like they always have been. So this could be a whole staged event to bring in and usher in certain laws to control the movement of public drones a lot better. So again, I've jumped ahead. That was going to be one of my theories that's coming up, actually, which is theory number 4, I think it is. Nope. I've gone right off skill here. Yeah, well, not drones. That's not what I'm coming to. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But yeah, this whole thing that I was just saying about how you go back to the psychop concept, and how this could have been created to create such a fuss and dance that it allows them to bring certain laws in. We saw the same thing happen. A really good example of this is with the two towers in the World Trade Center. Following that and the threat and the war on terrorism brought in the Patriot Act, which then empowered military and government to control the movements and monitor movements of people better. So again, it's not past thinking that there can be these things that are created to help them be able to justify and push through certain laws that give more power into certain people's hands, or end up controlling a threat for them. And maybe the use of public drones and their abilities are now starting to threaten the activities of certain military programs, bases, locations, and they just now want to be able to push a reason for all these laws to come in. So again, it feeds into some of the other theories like planned event, military planned event. So sorry, bit all over the place here, but I did say that I rushed this together. Wanted to be hot off the press. So theory number 4, moving on, we're getting there. Not too far away from number 1, not drones. And there's 2 ways, again, similar to the first one, there's 2 ways to look at this theory. And that is that it's someone else. Like we've talked a little bit about, it could be a foreign military. But what I mean is it's not ET, it's not aliens, it's not somebody, something from another dimension. But it's just like some unmanned aircraft, different, that has different maneuverability to drones, because again, that's where the experts, if you go and check out News Nation with I think his name's John Coulthard, or it's at least Coulthard. He's had some people come on there that are drone experts and talk about how the maneuverability in a lot of the reports that they've seen basically show that it can't be drones, and certainly not drones from the public sector. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's something paranormal or something otherworldly or alien. It could just be that it's some unmanned aircraft that is not a drone, but something else. So that's one side of the theory of not drones. And then Ross Coulthard, thank you so much, Courtney. My name, that part of my brain that accesses names tonight is gone on Christmas holiday early. It's not working too well tonight. But then the other way of looking at not drones is, well, maybe it's not something earthly, maybe it's something otherworldly. And then we've got a question: why have we been calling them drones all of a sudden and not calling them UAPs or UFOs? Or but again, fitting into that criteria of it's not ours, it's somebody else's, brings into the concept of also thinking unilaterally, like interdimensional as well. Who knows? Anyway, gonna fast forward straight into theory number 3. Do what Courtney did. Just put what should we put there? Not drones, and then give me your score of how much you think it would be scary if that was true, if they weren't drones and they're either something else that we just cannot explain, and even the US military can't explain what they are. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're alien, or maybe that they are. But if it's just not a drone, is what we're talking about, and that's what you're scoring for. Yes, I've been having a lot of brain freeze tonight. As I've always said, oh, hi, D. Is that D? That's an interesting. I hope you guys can all see that on the screen. That's an interesting fact that D has shared there. Welcome along, D. Please don't forget to like our lovely little G-Star Vault live stream here. Really appreciate that. What's Kevin got to say there? God, comments are coming in so fast I can't keep up with them. Yes, I've been having plenty of brain freeze tonight. And then that's 504 getting back there to Kevin. Exactly. Some say the drones are still flying, so why hasn't any one of them been shot down? Yeah, there's a lot of things about this whole thing that just don't make sense. They don't add up, and it can keep your brain going around and around and around. And so let's go on to theory number 3, prelude to something bigger. We again feeding back to some of the other theories where we talked about desensitizing, where we talked about planned event. Maybe this is just a prelude to something bigger. Again, Chase Hughes on his video, I believe it was, and again, I've put the link in the description. You can check that out. He talks about, again, if you feel like go through a more psychological or socio way of looking at how they would manage disclosure, it makes very, very common sense that it would be integrated, spread out small events and then one big event. And maybe this is just a prelude to something bigger and just desensitizing the world to when that something bigger happens, we're not also quick to jump and go absolutely mad crazy. Put your scores in the comments on prelude to something bigger if it is, and this is what's happening out there with all this drone activity. How scary is that? So I've kind of sort of covered this one, but this was theory number 2, that it's UAPs and UFOs. By that, I mean that it is otherworldly. Personally, I've put this in as a theory because it has to be considered, because usually when we see something in the sky that we can't identify and we don't know exactly what it is or exactly where it's coming from or exactly who's behind it, we usually call it unidentified, right? But we're not calling them unidentified for some reason. We're calling them drones, but they're not drones because they don't move like drones, but we'll keep calling them drones anyway. You can sense my frustration with this, and this is just how weird this whole subject is. And just another example of how crazy the world is getting, right? You know, let me know in chat if you agree that the world is just getting crazy. But yeah, so I don't think it's UFOs or UAPs. The reason why I don't think it's fits within that category is not because I think they're drones, and I easily leap to that conclusion, but it's because I've been researching and investigating and looking into ufology for quite a few decades, and for everything that I've seen, this just doesn't fit the criteria. Now, some could argue on the reverse of that and say, well, maybe that makes it more credible or makes it more possible because it doesn't fit the stereotype, you know, and that maybe that's what makes it genuine. But you know, usually you don't see UAPs or this level of activity around somewhere that is so heavily populated. That's not to say that in the history of ufology that hasn't happened. You know, way back in the 1940s, you had the incident in Washington, D.C. with the Washington, D.C. lights. You had the incident in Phoenix with the Phoenix lights in Arizona. So, yeah, there could be argument that there's been plenty of times where there's been, but again, hail back to the you know, Phoenix lights. I mean, I know some people are going to go straight in and say and argue and say, well, drones weren't invented back then. I don't know if military ones were, but they certainly weren't in public use. But nobody's, you know, within the narrative now, nobody's talking greatly about the Phoenix lights and saying, well, maybe these were drones then, because again, we didn't jump to that conclusion back then and just instantly start. We just said we don't know what that was. So they called the Phoenix lights, and they were considered UFOs for the best part. Whether you believe that they were alien in origin or not, we still don't know exactly what they were. There's some explanations for the Phoenix lights, but they don't really add up. But generally, there's not a huge amount of activity or events that happen in public areas, certainly for long durations of times, because this has been going on for weeks and weeks now. And as I said, it's extending now into other states in the US, and lots of reports coming through from Virginia and neighboring states. But again, the maneuverability, the kind of fact that they're flashing lights, all of this doesn't sort of fit. There has been some footage. I did see one in particular that looked very much like a black triangle, and he was saying that it's not 3 separate drones, it's one drone that has 3 lights, and it was creating this sort of image that looked very triangular, like a lot of the common UFO and UAP sightings from late 90s, early 2000s. But again, I don't know. Let me know if you agree with me. I don't I don't know if the dialogue has been used so much, and maybe that's part of the desensitization. Maybe because I feel that because the word drone is being used so much, I don't feel these fitting into the category of potentially UFO or otherworldly or other dimension. I'm thinking that whatever the explanation is behind this, it's something, because if you watch a lot of the footage, it does look like it does look like something not that complex. And they certainly don't move particularly quickly, but again, some of them in other reports have, so who knows. But let's go to some of the interesting comments that we've got before I get to the very last number one theory. And it's not number one because I think it's the best theory, it's just how these came out. Yeah, well, I'm kind of trying to offer both 504 there. I'm not saying what it's not, but yeah, I can't tell you what it is because at the moment nobody else can tell you what it is. All we can consider is the possibilities, right? Yeah, and that's what's starting to scare a lot of people, because the dialogue, even still now, publicly from officials, both in local authorities and FBI, they're saying, we know what these are, but you don't need to be worried about them, but we can't tell you what they are. Or some of them are saying a completely different narrative and saying, we don't know what these are. So Dee said, one observation I've noticed that those that really follow the leader are really quiet about the situation, not the word from them. I'm in New York. So so you're in New York, Dee, are you? And what are you... Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I get what you're saying now. Sorry, that usually there would be people that would be speaking up, and there's nothing coming from those people. Yeah, all of these interesting points, and there's a lot of the other thing is there's contradictions as well in some of the things that are being said, as I mentioned just then. That I think there was one guy from the FBI who went, he was stood outside some building, and he made claim that they knew what they were, but they couldn't tell us what they were. And then in a later press release from the FBI, they sort of stated that they don't know what they are. So there's a lot of mixed. Again, in this day and age, we were talking about it earlier, and I tend to do a show dedicated to this. And sort of our use of technology in our current day and age, and how it sort of supports a sort of living where, we're living off of fake news a lot of the time, and it's having big impacts around the world. It's having a big effect on people's social and psychological views, and yeah, it's playing a. So I'm going to do a live podcast about that somewhere down the line. Go into that in a little bit detail, get your guys' thoughts. But anyway, let's get to theory number one. And we've talked about it several times already this evening, but maybe this is just mass hysteria. What's it? Occam's razor, whatever is the most likeliest. There's a lot of theories that are presented this evening that could just be the most likeliest thing. This is a planned and staged event by the military. They know exactly what's going on, but because it's staged, they're wanting to see public's reaction. Again, one of the other theories that's been kicking about that goes, again, I guess it sits into theory number 6, the PSYOP one that I had, and that is, I think it was Kevin that mentioned it earlier on about, or was it Andy, looking for a missing nuke. There's the reason why apparently these drones, and these are new grade military drones that we're not supposed to know about yet, but the reason why they've been released to and been flying all over New Jersey and New York is because apparently they're searching for a missing nuclear warhead. Apparently there was 80 warheads that were being disarmed from, I think, I can't remember if it was a ship or something, or a plane carrier from the US military force. Anyway, there was apparently 80 warheads. One of them's gone missing. It's believed to be around the New York, New Jersey area. So there's obviously concern, and these drones have been deployed to try and locate, this nuclear missile, and that would feed very much into that whole psyop that they're doing this operation. They've planned it, very short notice planned, of course, but now they're creating a sub story, and just keeping a big mystery around it, so people aren't really delving into what's the earthly reason that this is going on. Who knows? But Kevin's dropped a score in chat there. I think that must have been to mass hysteria #1. Not very scared if it's mass hysteria. I'd still be scared because it's obviously created a bit of an effect. But I don't think it is all mass hysteria, but I definitely feel that the way in which news gets handled these days and circulated has led into some sort of impact on what anybody's going to take away from this incident in terms of knowledge or explanation. And I think as part of that mass hysteria, it's added into things like social media and people faking stuff and adding stuff that's not genuine to the reports. 504 there says too, if it's another country, there wouldn't be Exum Slice on the drones and they would be definitely attacked by now. Yeah. Well, again, just presenting the theory 504, and you are very much of the light of what Trump mentioned it. He said, if it was the enemy, they would have certainly, made an impact by now, let's say, and made it a little bit more clear that it was them, because if it is, they've got one upper hand over the US military and government, I guess, because they can't seem to control the situation. So that would be pretty scary if that was the reason. But yeah, there's a lot of theories that I presented this evening that can easily be explained away, and the evidence could be provided to show that they're not. But there's parts of them that still beg some questions. I hope I've provided some other reasonable explanations. But I think it goes back to what I said at the top part of this show, and that was that something is happening. Something is happening out there. We can't deny that. And we just all need an explanation as to what it is that's happening, whether you live in New Jersey or not, because these things are now starting to spread all over the place. And, I think generally people just need answers to be convinced that the government aren't doing more trying to keep things in the dark. The government is meant to be here for the people and not keep the people in the dark. And the more of these kind of events and things that are happening, and the majority of it is clearly, obviously, coming from the US, we just all need a little bit more clarity and somebody honest to stand up and say, no, this is what's happening, and be a little bit more transparent with the people. Let me know what you think in chat. What are your conclusions? What do you think's going on? Which theory would you align with the most? Whilst you're all putting them in, I'm going to look at some other comments that we've got. I've only seen different kinds of orbs and drones we've seen on video fly around, and I've only seen one drone spot me turn invisible, then went visible once about 10 feet away, and that was around 2:14 to 2:25 p.m. Oh, so you've actually seen these things, D? Because you just say you lived in New York, so you've actually seen a drone that turned invisible and then went visible, and this happened about 10 feet away. Wow, that's really interesting. If that's the case, please do let me know. There's another. Hold on, what's the other comment? I literally live 2 blocks away from a beach near Rochelle, New York. Oh, and I think I've seen some video footage from that area. I think that was where, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the one that I showed in the footage where it had them all in the skyline. Let me know if that was the same place. What's we got here? Just look what happened to the Chinese. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the overriding thing, isn't it? And that's what I was trying to say then by the people need to know that the more that this is going on, and even not even the more, the fact that this is even happening just gives another example that the American, whatever you want to call it, the American military, the American government, or the American, infrastructure, are not being honest with its people. And if you're an American right now, you should be a little bit concerned that you're not getting complete transparent. Like, what is going on? I know that people might think they're acting on the behalf of people's good, and they don't want to create panic and hysteria. But I definitely would say that there's hysteria being created anyway, regardless of whether there's been any information shared. D says that me and others have even seen UFOs dive into the water since 2008. Wow. Oh, I would love, Dee. Well, I hope you can come back on one of our live podcasts again. We're here every Sunday from 7 p.m. in GMT time, which I don't know what time that works out to you in New York. But also, if you go and check out my other channel on the link, I do have emails there where you can email me and reach out. And I'd love to hear some of the stories of some of the sightings and any evidence that you've got, because that's kind of what I do, is investigate. Or if you'd like to come on the live stream one time and talk about the things that you've seen, again, we can arrange that. So let me know in comments, please. I've got another comment from there. I think they're looking for something. But yeah, I definitely, if you go and watch some of the footage, it definitely feels like, or the way that they're maneuvering, it looks like they're, when you see helicopters when somebody's got out of prison or something, or there's a big crime that's going off, and the way that they circle and loop, it definitely feels that that's what they're doing. And the fact that they're doing it low as well gives you this real sense that they're searching for something or someone. Who knows? This could be the thing, because the theory's going around that it's a nuclear missile, but it could be an alien. It could be another biological entity, or anything crazy like that. But who knows? Whilst we wait for the answers, we're just going to try and, it's human nature that people keep creating their own answers, right? Last one from D there. The past 2 days, more orbs in the night than drones. It's calmed down now, especially during the day. Yeah, I mean, it worked out. Now with it going and encroaching into Virginia, I was watching one of these American news stations, and they were saying that it's got up to, the rate of reports now has got up to 96 every night or every day in areas of New Jersey. And again, a lot of that is misidentified commercial pilots and stuff like that. But the sheer level and volume of reports that are coming through, crazy. And it's just going up and up and up, and still not getting any visibility from the government or information about these bans and why these bans have been put into place. And yeah, but let's keep watching this space. I'm sure in the pursuit of truth, I've presented you with 10 theories this evening, but we will keep apprised of the situation as it unfolds. And if there's any more information, we will come back to it here on G Star Vault Live, certainly in 2025. Got other ideas for other shows and other guests coming up in the near future. The next time I see you will still be 2024. I'm hoping to come to you next Sunday, and then we're going to launch into 2025. And I've got some big ideas of how I want to merge what I do here on the Vault, on G Star Vault Live, with my other channel, The Underground Paradox, and the investigations that I do on location. Now that I've got the camper van, maybe I can try doing a live stream, a live podcast for G Star Vault from the camper van on location. Who knows? But yeah, keeping big plans for 2025. For now, I just want to say a huge thank you. Your comments have been firing off so hard this evening that I have barely been able to keep up with them. But the important thing is that you guys are talking to each other as well and sharing all of your thoughts and theories and talking to each other. But guys, thank you for your input this evening. It's been really interesting talking this through with you. Let's keep watching this space. For now, everyone have a great Merry Christmas with your family. Hope you've got some really great stuff planned. Thank you to everybody that supports the channel regularly here on the Vault throughout 2024. Myself, as you know, I've struggled to provide content because of things that have been happening in my personal life that had to take me away from YouTubing, but I'm hoping that things are all settling down now and I can get more back into my routine of where I was before. And I'm coming with you these lives most Sunday nights when I can, and we'll continue to do so. So please join me next Sunday at 7 p.m. if you can again, you guys. You've been awesome. But for now, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Good night.